Welcome to the Top 5s on Tap podcast. I'm Hayden.
And I'm Josh. Every week we'll be discussing a new top 5. There'll be some facts, some trivia, so feel free to have a guest along at home.
Suggestions for new episodes are always welcome, so if you've got one, email it to us at top5sontap@gmail.com.
We'll consider all topics, providing they are somewhat quantified and aren't entirely opinion-based, because our opinions
Mean nothing. With all that being said, let's get into this week's Top 5. Oh my god, we've made it to episode 6.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Who would have thought it? Not me. Well, I did think it, but...
We're still here, everyone. Still here.
People are still listening as well, which is nice.
Yeah, there's a few.
One or two.
Yeah.
Mum,
yeah.
Dad, thank you. It's not my mum and dad. They gave up after episode 1, but I appreciate the listen.
I think my mum and dad are still listening. Shout out mum and dad.
That's nice of you. Your mum and dad, do they fancy adopting me? Because I would appreciate it if I had a mum and dad who listened to the podcast.
Well...
Maybe one day.
I think at the age of 27, you might be a bit...
They do it in Japan.
Yeah, my dad doesn't have a corporation he just to take over, unfortunately. So
I can have him out around the garage if he needs a bit of a hand with the cars.
Yeah, well, he's... I'm sure he'd help want a hand tidying up.
That's not the fun bit, is it?
No.
What are we doing this week, Hayden? What are we talking about?
This week, we're talking about the top 5 largest... planets in the solar system.
In our solar system.
The solar system.
Yeah, we're very specific, aren't we, with our solar system?
Yeah.
And there's not many to choose from, is there?
There's only 8.
But
so we'll probably end up talking about the other 3 anyway.
We can't miss them out, can we?
No, it'd be a bit rude.
But in the first half, they'll get not much of a mention.
They won't, unfortunately. No, we're focusing on the big 5.
But yeah, if you can get the 5 in order, then give yourself some points, because very impressive if you know the order already.
Yeah, the order we're going on is based on... the radius of the planets.
Yes,
that's what we're working with. We're working with the radius of the planets.
Not the mass, not the surface area. Going with radii.
Not the volume. It's pure radii.
Pure radii.
Well, I mean, the radii is the volume, but yeah.
Maths and science.
Exactly.
You're going to take the lead on this
4/3 pi r cubed.
You are the maths and science one, so I will follow your lead.
Anyway, speaking of numbers, here's number 5.
5.
Number 5 is, of course, our very own Earth.
We all live here.
We do. Everyone.
At the moment.
Everyone lives on Earth.
Can you imagine if someone listens to our podcast in many, many years' time and they are not on Earth?
Actually, technically, are the people on the International Space Station on Earth?
They're not, no, true.
So
maybe
hello to our Russian astronauts, cosmonauts up there at the moment.
Do you know anything about Earth? Have you been?
I mean... I don't have a lot of experience. I only have about 28 years experience.
It's not much, is it?
Out of the 6-ish billion years of Earth.
I've heard the Earth's quite old, so that's quite limited, isn't it, really?
I've only seen a small glimpse of it, but yeah, I'd say...
What's the radii of that Earth that we live on?
So the radius of the Earth is, I've got here, 6,371 kilometres.
I also have that figure.
Yes.
A thing that I want to try and make into an SI unit, which currently isn't. So the 6,371 kilometres is the equivalent to 922,000 Robert Wadlows. Which
nice.
I would like to make the SI unit of wadders.
Wadders, okay, yeah. How many wadders is that?
I'm hoping that
works.
we can take off. So 920,123 wadders for any wadders fans out there. And just so you know, I do have every other planet in wadders as well for your listening ears. Gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared.
That is, yeah.
But what does that mean, Hayden? Because I have no idea.
So gravity is basically the acceleration you're going to feel when you're between the mass of you and the mass of the Earth.
Right.
So it's not the force. It's not it's not the force yet. It'll be force when it's applied to your body.
Okay.
But it's because every object will have a different force depending on its mass. But it's the acceleration that it would experience.
I see.
If there's no air on the Earth, then there's a complete vacuum, and you dropped me, I would fall at 9.8 meters per second.
Right. I see.
9.8 meters per second squared. So I would gain. For every second, I would gain 9.8 meters per second in velocity.
Oh, so you speed up.
Yeah.
I see. I think that makes a lot of sense. Earth is an English/German word. The name simply means ground.
Yes.
unlike a lot of the other planets which are named after Roman or Greek gods.
Spoiler.
I mean, some spoilers coming up, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an older German word that is Erde, which is probably not the German pronunciation, but what can you do?
Yeah. A lot of my facts on this are a bit boring about Earth because I've standardized everything in terms of Earth. So, did you know that Earth is one Earth radii?
I do.
It's 1 times the mass of the Earth. It's 1 Earth year is our year, and 1 Earth day is our day. Very interesting. But these facts will become more interesting as we move through the planets.
I sure hope so. I sure hope they do. Just missing out on a close second. A slight spoiler if you're thinking it's coming up. Venus, just slightly smaller than Earth.
Oh, yeah.
So on a close sixth.
Just missed out, yeah.
Only 319 kilometres in radius smaller than Earth.
Yeah.
Which is the distance between Manchester and Dublin, which is not far at all, really.
But it's about 20%, 15% smaller than Earth overall in volume.
But volume adds up, doesn't it? As the
it does, yeah.
As the radius is bigger. All that cubing. Number 4, we have Neptune, which is quite a lot bigger than Earth. 24,622 kilometres.
A big jump up from the small terrestrial planets.
That is like 4 times the amount of kilometres in radius. But obviously the stat we all want to know.
It's actually 3.87 Earth radii, Josh.
3.87. I was getting a bit ahead of myself there. But the stat we all want to know, 3.5 million waters in radius.
Right.
Do you have waters on your official?
I don't have waters on my list.
It's not an SI unit
Sorry,
yet.
mate.
After this podcast, maybe, but not yet. 11.2 gravity meters per second squared, so slightly more gravity.
I would be a little bit heavier on.
Be a bit harder to walk on.
It would.
On Neptune.
It'd feel like you're wearing an extra
bit of a weighted blanket kind of thing.
An extra 10% your own body weight on you.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, what's that?
Weighty.
Oh, that's a few stone. That that wouldn't be nice at all.
Yeah.
So even though, like you say, not quite 4 times the radius of Earth, but it's 17 times heavier.
Yes.
Than Earth. Have you got that down on your little facts table?
I do. 17.152 Earth mass.
I'm glad you got the numbers.
Masses.
You are the numbers man. Which is, it's interesting how density works, isn't it? And mass. But,
It is. Obviously, Neptune is quite far out. It's actually the furthest of the planets away from the sun.
Okay.
It's 4.5 billion kilometers.
That's pretty far away.
4.5 billion kilometers. It's actually 30 times further than the sun than the Earth is.
Oh, so we're closer to the sun than we are to Neptune.
Yeah, way close to the sun.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Neptune is 30 times the distance from the Earth to the sun.
Oh,
away
wow.
from the sun.
So we're not getting much heat off Neptune then anytime soon.
We can barely see Neptune, to be fair.
I do have that, yeah. So Neptune's not visible by the unaided eye, and was the only planet in the solar system apparently found by a mathematical prediction.
Yes.
Rather than a empirical observation.
Yeah.
That's always interesting to know.
Yeah, but it's one of those ones we can't see past Saturn, really, can we? By the eye.
I'm not trying personally. Is that the naked eye in no telescopes?
No telescopes. In antiquity there was only the planets were the the smaller ones, and then the closer, the larger ones I don't want to talk about yet because I don't want to spoil it.
I see.
But
very, very nicely avoided that.
But Neptune was discovered much later because it can't be seen.
Because it was so far away.
Yeah. What do you reckon the temperature is on Neptune this time of year?
I mean, there's not many EasyJet flights going there, so I'm guessing it's pretty cold. So a solid minus 100, minus 200.
Minus 200 on a warm day.
On a warm day.
Minus 218 on a cold day.
That 18 degrees, that's you need to put an extra pair of gloves on for that, don't you?
Yeah, being so far away from the sun, it obviously gets no warming effect. Well, very little warming effect from the sun.
That's true.
Most of its heat comes from internal heat in the center because it's a gas giant, so it doesn't actually have a surface.
Okay.
But it has very dense gas at the center.
Right.
It gets quite hot in there. We're talking like quite a few thousand of degrees, but it's because of the high density.
So that minus 200 is like the outside gas temperature.
Yeah, the sort of outer layers of the gas atmosphere before it gets like the solid block of gas. It's a solid block of gas. It's a weird thing.
I always
to say.
struggle to get my head around that.
But because it flows like a gas, it's just a very dense gas.
Right. Okay.
It's not bound like a solid material.
Okay. terrestrial planet.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
A last fact, which I didn't know: not only Saturn is not the only planet to have rings. Other planets have rings, like Neptune.
Quite a few on this list have rings.
Yeah, I did not know that. Yeah, but they're not quite as visible, obviously, as Saturn's. So
Yeah, Neptunes are discovered very late on.
yeah, not so much talked about.
Quite dusty rings, the Neptunes. I think they're quite young rings as they
Rings.
go. Yeah.
It's like Anakin Skywalker.
3.
Number 3 on the list is Uranus, or Uranus, or however you want to say it.
I think those are the two pronunciations.
Those are the two standard.
You nailed them, both of them.
You are Uranus.
Only slightly bigger than our last entry at Neptune.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very similar in size. Yeah.
Despite being not very close to each other. They're not particularly.
No, the Neptune, Uranus is only 19 Earth radii away from the sun.
Yeah.
So 19 times further away from the sun than the Earth is. So it's 2/3 of the way to Neptune.
Right. Okay.
That's where you'd find Uranus
On your travels.
on your travels.
So
Yeah.
that's 25,362 kilometers in radius.
Yep.
We're going down this time on the gravitational scale. I've got it as 8.9.
And that is related to the fact that Uranus is actually lighter than Neptune.
Despite being bigger.
Yeah, it's slightly larger in radii, but it actually has less mass,
So
and therefore less density,
Less gravity.
which is less gravity.
These all add up, these. 3.67 million waters.
Is the radius.
Is the radius.
Nice, yeah. For anyone who can't quickly do a conversion from waters to kilometers, that is
25,362.
that's spot on. Yes, or 3.98 Earth radii.
Okay.
So it's pretty
just
much
shy of
spot on
4.
4. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
4 times as large as Earth is in radius.
You know it's named after a Greek god? Greek god of the sky? Uranus?
I could have guessed that. I wouldn't have. Well, Greek or Roman, it's going to be one of the two.
It's got to be one of the two. And it's on a funny axis, isn't it, Uranus?
It is.
It's not like your standard kind of tilt, kind of on your vertical axis. It's a horizontal axis.
Yeah. So for comparison, the previous 2 planets, Earth and Neptune, both have a tilt of about. Well, Earth's is 23 degrees and Neptune's is 28 degrees. So that means that they're basically tilted over slightly away from spinning on a perfect axis. Now Uranus, as you were just saying, is pretty much spot on 90 degrees to its orbit around the sun.
It is.
So that means you get some very long seasons.
Yes. Yeah.
Because for a whole half of its journey around the sun, one end of its one face of it is going to be pointing directly at the sun the whole time. Yeah.
It's a bit like kind of Iceland in the summers. When is it when they have either all sun all the time or all dark all the time?
Yeah, it's a bit like that, but it's much more intense.
For a long time.
It'll be a long old time as well, because the length of a year for old Uranus up there is 83 Earth years.
Right.
84 Earth years.
Right. Is that more than less than Neptune though?
Yeah, because it's much closer.
Yeah, closer.
Yeah.
So it's all about distance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is there any? Does it go out that way, like pretty much uniformly, like in terms of actual years? So does any orbit quicker, or does it all just depend on the distance?
It depends on the distance. Obviously, it's not linear, so it's not. The closer you get in, the faster you'll go, because there's less distance to travel.
There's nothing that orbits the sun quicker than something that's less distant than it.
I think the planets travel. Some planets travel a bit faster, but just because of the huge distances between them, it's not noticeable.
You're not going to be able to catch on the inside.
Nothing's
track.
going actually faster. Nothing has a shorter year than another planet. Yeah, nothing has shorter.
That makes sense.
So how long in a day is on Uranus?
On Uranus, I'm guessing maybe double an Earth day.
It is actually 0.718 of an Earth day.
0.71? What's that in hours again?
That's 17 hours.
Oh, that's nice. Nice short day, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any jokes about that.
I wish all my work days were like that.
That doesn't work though, does it?
Does it not?
Well, I mean, you're still going to have to work for 9 hours. So
No, my weekends are like longer days. And then 17-hour days, yeah.
So 17-hour weekdays, but normal length week then. Yeah, I suppose it kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd have an extra long weekend. 'Cause I'd blast through all my hours.
Okay. Yeah, I get you. I get you now. You want to accumulate them all in the week.
I work like 5 Neptune days, 5 Uranus days a week, and I'll be done by Thursday.
The Beatles wrote a song about that. I can never remember.
2.
Number 2, we've got Saturn.
Big old
which
Saturn.
is another gas giant planet, and it has rings, like we mentioned earlier.
Like the previous 2 entries did.
Yeah, quite a big step up from Uranus as well. It's 58,232 kilometers in diameter, so more than double the diameter of Uranus, and 8.4 million waters.
8.4 million waters.
That's a lot of waters.
That's a lot of waters, yeah.
All stood on top of each other.
Yep.
2.2 meter Robert Wadlow stood on top of each other 8.4 million times.
How many times bigger in radius is it than Earth, would you say?
I'd say about 9.5 times bigger.
9.14 times.
Oh, well, my sources...
Come on, Josh. Got it with calculations.
My sources aren't very good at all.
Obviously, 95 times the mass of the Earth.
95 times the mass?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, I see. So it has larger volume, but I've got it down here that, but it's only 1/8 the average density.
Yes, yeah, but it's obviously much heavier, but because it's so much bigger.
So much bigger. So
it
not
can't
as compact.
Exactly, yeah.
That makes sense now. The ring is composed mainly of ice particles and rocky debris and dust, or magic, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, or gold.
Could be gold.
It could be anything, mate.
We're just guessing, really, aren't we?
I think it is mostly just rock and ice. Nothing fancy. But it shines very brightly in the sky. I think you can see the rings through even just pretty basic telescopes.
Yes, yeah.
But you can't see any of the other rings on the other planets. So.
No rings of Uranus or Neptune, is there?
No, not visible. No, surely not.
I've got the days finally. If you want some day facts, but I mean, you've already got some yourself.
Go on then, tell us the day.
So it turns on its axis every 10.5 hours. So it's the second shortest day of any other planet in the solar system.
That is correct, yes.
Thank you for confirming.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so 10-hour day is very quick spin.
Even less work to be done.
You only got 2 hours, mate, than yourself. You still got to do those 8.5-hour work days.
I'll be back in again straight away.
Little 2-hour power nap. We might as well sleep at work. We've got showers, don't we?
Oh, man. How long is a year for Saturn? We know it's obviously less far out than Neptune and Uranus.
So it is, but it's more far out than Earth.
Yeah.
So...
It's almost 10 times as far out as Earth is.
10 times, and the other one's just 20 times. So let's go with, and year will be 15 Earth years.
29 Earth years.
29 Earth years. So close, but yeah, so far.
1.
And at number 1, we have the mighty, the gigantic, the humongous, the Robert Wadlowius Jupiter.
But how many waters do you think Jupiter is in radius?
I'm not sure, Josh.
So Saturn was 8.4 million waters.
8.4 million waters, yeah.
You want to try and do a bit of quick maths to see how many waters you think Jupiter might be? So it's
what is it? 8.4 million waters.
So 58,000 kilometers to 69,000 kilometers. So
8.4. Let's go for 9.6 million waters.
Not a bad guess. Just over 10 million waters.
Just over 10 million waters.
10 million waters.
Wow.
That's not a phrase you thought you'd be hearing on this podcast, is it?
That's quite true. I did not think I'd hear that.
A lot of gravity as well. 24.8 meters per second of gravity. That's going to be a tough war, that, isn't it, on Jupiter?
Very tough, yeah. There's a lot of gas crushing down upon you. There's a lot of mass up in there.
Let alone the patriarchy.
I mean, in fact, you couldn't really stand on the surface of Jupiter, so it'd be quite hard to walk anyway, regardless of the amount of gravity there.
It's got a core, hasn't it? But yeah, another gassy one.
I think it's just compressed matter. Yeah, it's not really.
Is it a big gas one again?
It's a gas giant, yeah.
Big old gas, and it has rings as well, like we said earlier. But
it does.
Not very visible.
Only 4, I believe.
Only 4 rings.
Very faint rings, yeah. How many moons does Jupiter have?
I Well, my chart feels very off, but I'm going to say around 70 odd.
67 according to this. I mean, we there's always discrepancy with these sort of things. That's
So
part of the
Do
observation.
you have it then that Jupiter has the most moons? Of all
Yes,
planets?
Jupiter has the most moons of all the planets.
I've got it
yeah.
that Saturn has the most moons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, apparently in 2019 they discovered 20 more moons on Saturn. So, yeah, I'm not too sure how that one works, but we'll look into it and come back and see what moon facts we can come up with.
Or one of you can let us know where we're wrong if there's any amateur astrologers listening.
Yeah, if you've got the time to count all those moons with your
If you're
telescope.
any Pisces out there or Sagittarius is ready to tell us when Jupiter's in flux, then let us know.
That'd be lovely. Fifth in line from the sun, and is by far the biggest planet. No, it's twice as massive as every other planet combined.
Yeah,
That's how big it is.
that's pretty big.
So the Robert Wadlow of planets. It's he was the size of me and you combined.
Yeah, because in terms of what you're just saying there, so Jupiter is 318 times the mass of the Earth.
Wow, that's heavy.
So that's 318. But just to give you a bit of context as well, the sun, which is what everything is obviously going round at quite a pace,
I heard about the sun, yeah.
hurtling around. How many Earth masses do you think the sun is?
Oh, quite a lot, like 500,000.
It's 333,000, mate.
33,000.
So it's basically 1,000 times heavier than Jupiter.
Wow, that's big, that sun, isn't it?
Yeah,
Big old star.
big old star.
I learned something interesting as I was reading about Jupiter. So if Jupiter were to get any more massive, you think it would get bigger. Wrong. It actually gets smaller.
Because of gravity.
Any additional mass would actually make the planet more dense, which would start pulling in on itself. That gravity would make it more compact, which
Yeah.
I thought was very interesting. And astronomers estimate that Jupiter could be 4 times its current mass and still remain the same size due to the density of the planet. Big red dot. Do you know what that is on Jupiter? Big old red dot on Jupiter.
It's a storm.
It is a storm the size of Earth.
Wow.
It's as big as Earth.
Well, it's the eye of a storm, isn't it? So it's
The storm going on around it is even bigger than Earth.
yeah.
It's like the Earth and all the atmosphere combined going on, raging for hundreds of years. Well, 100 years because it was observed a few hundred years ago. But most likely going on for many, many, many more than 100 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unconfirmed though.
Temperature on Jupiter? Do you think this time of year?
Oh, so it's closer than Neptune, and it's the 5th planet from the sun. So not as warm as Earth, but warmer than other places. Let's go with minus 10 degrees.
Minus 110.
Oh, I'll just not by 100.
It's obviously not really got much going on. It's not got like a nice molten iron core to keep it warm.
True. Yeah, true.
And it's still considerably further from the sun than the Earth is. With the nature of how, like, say if you're shining a torch at something,
Yeah.
the further away something is, the less light is received because the light is spreading out equally
yeah.
in every direction.
Not as strong.
From the torch, exactly. Yeah, so it's like dispersing as it travels.
So you mentioned about the core just then. So in terms of our planet that we live on,
yeah,
Earth, would our planet be any different in temperature if it didn't have a hot core? Would it be considerably colder, or would we still be getting quite a lot of our heat from the sun?
We'd still get a lot of heat from the sun, but our nights would be much colder.
Right. Okay. So when the sun goes,
our atmosphere would be much colder and things like that.
Right.
Like,
So
that on Mars, effectively, Mars has a very cold evenings.
does not a core.
Its core's stopped. Its core's died.
Right. Okay.
Well, they think it's died. There might be some activity, but it's not for a long time.
Not the same level of our.
It's got lots of volcanoes on the
liquid
surface, so it has had like volcanic activity in its past,
Right. Okay.
but nothing at the moment to suggest that was the case.
Olympus Mons, the biggest mountain in the solar system,
The biggest volcano as well. Yeah.
almost 3 times the size of Mount Everest.
Yep.
That's big old volcano.
It has cliffs at the edge of it. They're a kilometre tall.
Wow.
So imagine that. Look, standing at the bottom of a cliff. Like we see White Cliffs of Dover, and they're like 100 meters tall. No less than that, like 40 meters tall, something like that.
That's what it's going to be like standing right next to the Jeddah Tower if it's ever completed.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's a cliff.
Callback.
Exactly. exactly. What a
Go and
callback.
watch the tallest towers episode. I think that's it for Jupiter.
I mean, well, congratulations, Jupiter. I mean, I'm sure that it's been mentioned again because we talk about continue to talk about all these planetary wonders.
There's
of
no
the
one
solar
really to
system.
congratulate us on Jupiter, but one day maybe, if anyone ever gets discovered there, we can send them this
A little
pod.
man there living there.
We can send them this pod, and maybe
He
we
might be
can...
listening right now and going, "Oh, don't leave me out." That's how it would sound.
Like how he's got a northern... Is he eating butter pies on Jupiter
Yeah,
as
it's because
well?
he's being crushed by the gravity on Jupiter. So
Right.
it's like, "Oh, help me."
Like a northern chimney sweep. But yeah, congrats Jupiter. We'll chuck in that applause, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will.
Bonus facts. What facts would you like to speak to me about, Hayden, regarding facts?
So we've not spoken much about the other planets yet, have we?
We did a bit about Mars then. And
We
a
did.
little
We
bit
did have a
about
little bit
Venus
about
earlier.
Mars, yeah, and a little bit about Venus earlier. So, what do you reckon? What do you reckon the hottest planet in the solar system is, Josh?
I think it's a little tricky one. So you'd be tempted to say good old Mercury, because that
Yes.
is closest to the old sun.
To the old Sunage.
But
yeah.
I went to school and I learned something.
Right. Okay.
Not recently, but I remember something good. I think it's something to do with Venus having a lot of CO2 in its atmosphere, and it traps a lot of heat. So I'm going.
Yes, it's not just CO, it's all the greenhouse gases.
Oh,
It's got a good
you can grow
concoction of all of them going on.
Grow
Yeah.
some bloody good tomatoes on on Venus with those greenhouse gases.
Yeah, it's got a lot of methane and stuff like that.
So
yeah.
Venus is the hottest. thing.
On average, Venus is the hottest, and it's helped out by the fact that Mercury, being so close to the sun, orbits very quickly, and it actually has a very, very slow day.
Right.
Mercury has 3 days for every 2 times it goes, for every 2 years it has around the sun. So it's got like a 1.5 times length of its year. So the cold side, if you will, it's got no atmosphere to keep all the warmth in.
Right.
So whilst the front side is being blasted by the heat of the sun, the back side is
Turning very slowly.
minus 100 and odd
very
degrees.
cold, I see.
So it's because it's basically just being exposed to the vacuum
and
of
then the
space.
sun has to warm that up again, and then it gets cooled again. So
Yeah, it's not going to it will radiate heat very quickly without an atmosphere.
So when we talk about like the temperature of a planet, we're talking like the average temperature of that planet. So that obviously like Mercury's like closest to the sun there would be very hot.
I mean, I have like both the highest and the lowest. So for Mercury, with like it's minus 173 is the coldest.
Is the
it
cold
gets.
side, yeah.
And the warm side gets to 427 degrees.
That's when it's been blasted by the
Yeah,
sun.
yeah.
And is that higher than Venus's?
Venus's average is 462.
Oh, so
it's
even still higher.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
so it's still it's high. No. Mercury's hotter at its maximum temperature,
Okay.
but as an average for the planet. But the fact that Venus is so much further away and still maintains those temperatures is incredibly
All those
impressive.
greenhouse gases. I'm very
It is,
happy I
yeah.
remembered that. So yeah, stay in school, kids, because you might learn something.
And it actually has contributed to Venus losing most of its water.
Right,
Just because
okay.
of the insane surface temperature,
Things
and there
are
is
so-
no cool places for the water to hide.
So it just all
Yeah, because they
evaporates.
found that there is water that exists on Mercury even
Okay.
in the craters on its surface that don't ever get sunlight. They basically can exist frozen water on its surface.
On the surface that never gets sunlight.
Yeah,
How's that
well,
work?
if you have a deep crater on, say, like the North Pole,
Oh, I see.
it's not going to get any sunlight.
Not
in
getting
it.
direct sun directly.
Yeah,
into
exactly. So in the bottom of a crater, it's not going to get much sun in there.
It. I see.
So whilst and there's no air, so there's no air. There's no way for the
Heat to
heat to travel.
Yeah.
It can travel through the ground, but it's not going to go very far because
Yeah.
it's going to radiate so much quicker because it's into a vacuum of space. So there's frozen water on Mercury, but very, very little water remains on
Wow.
Venus because it can't
Very,
exist.
very interesting indeed.
But I think that before it actually went through its phase of being what it is now, it was actually much earlier in its development than Earth, and it was a very watery planet, an oceanic planet for quite a long period of its history.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then it went through a global climate crisis, and
Was this in the 90s or was this a bit before then?
I think it was after the Venus's industrial revolution. Yeah,
See, soon after the Bronze Age of
yeah,
Venus.
yeah.
Um,
They dug up all those Venetian. Would that be what you say? But for Venus,
Someone who's from Venice. That'd be confusing in a few years to come. 'cause
Yeah.
They might
it's like
have
Martian. So what would it be for Venus?
Venetian Junior.
Venusian.
Venusian?
Venusian sounds cool.
We could come up with it now if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, if it's not already a term, we've now coined Venusian.
A Jupiter.
And this is to make a joke about Venusian dinosaurs making fossil fuels. That was worth it.
100% full circle. You want a quick quiz? It's a 10-parter, but you already should know 5 of the answers because
I always love a quiz.
We've just talked about them. So can you name the 10 largest bodies in the solar system?
10 largest bodies.
10 largest bodies
the solar system.
And we've already mentioned 5, if not more. But you definitely should know the order of 5.
Right. So we're gonna go with the 10 largest.
10 largest
in order.
In order, please.
So at number 1, I'm gonna go for 1. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah, you start 1.
Jupiter.
No.
Oh wait, in the solar. Okay, Sun.
I'll let you off. 1 life gone.
The Sun.
The Sun, number
1. Jupiter.
Yep.
Saturn.
Yes.
Uranus.
Yes.
Neptune.
Yes.
Earth.
The easy bit. Done.
Venus.
Yes.
Mars.
Yes.
Mercury.
No. Mercury does not make the top 10.
Mercury doesn't make the top 10.
Mercury does not make the top 10.
Oh, because of the moons.
We got some big old moons.
We got some big old moons. It's like Ganymede.
Ganymede is number 9, the moon, biggest moon of Jupiter, and the largest moon of all the planets, as you can guess.
Wait, so
Ganymede at number 9.
Oh, so what was number 8?
Mars, number 8.
Oh, so I've only got one more moon to guess. Then.
One more moon at number 10.
Ugh. Callisto.
Callisto, number 12.
Enceladus.
Not on the top 15. Enceladus.
I don't really know many.
Titan.
Titan.
The moon of Saturn, just slightly smaller than Ganymede, and then slightly smaller than that you have Mercury, Callisto, Io, a moon of Jupiter, and Luna, our moon.
Oh, that's
at
nice.
14. So Mercury not even making the top 10 largest things in the solar system.
Yeah, I didn't know that, to be fair. I thought it was...
It's close. So in terms of radius kilometres, you're talking Ganymede 2,600, Titan 2,500, Mercury 2,400.
Oh, okay. Right.
Callisto 2,410, Mercury 2,439. So
pretty close, so yeah.
Yeah, just a couple of 100 kilometres smaller than Ganymede and Titan. But yeah, good guessing though. Good memory and
Thank
good
you.
guessing.
Thank you.
Quick question for you.
All right.
Stars. There's a lot of them out there.
There is.
There's quite a few. What would be your best guess for how many stars you think there are in the solar system?
In the solar system? Oh, are we counting like Cristiano Ronaldo's a big star?
Just
Star player.
Whatever stars you can think of.
So Cristiano Ronaldo, 1. Sol, 2.
Yep. Sol Campbell.
Him as well, yeah, 3. And I'm going to go for 1. One big whopping star.
I thought I'd trick you up on my trick question, but he did not get tricked. He's not fooled, this man, easily. But yes, there is just one star in our solar system, which is, of course, the sun.
After missing it off the list of the largest bodies in the solar, I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice.
I was going to do a double Helios mistake.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, just the one. Remember mnemonics? Got some interesting facts about mnemonics.
Some interesting facts about mnemonics or interesting mnemonics?
Interesting mnemonics.
Okay, because I was going to say, there's going to be some obscure facts here.
So mnemonics, do you remember the old mnemonics? How to remember the planets? Did you have one growing up in high school?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
What was your go-to mnemonic in high school or primary school?
Many vile earthlings munch jam sandwiches under noose.
under noose.
Under news.
Under news. What did it used to be?
Under newspapers.
Under newspapers. So it didn't evolve for...
No. We had to stop at news. Under news.
Apparently back in the 1950s, there was a popular one, which I don't particularly think is very good, but anyway, they thought it was good in the 50s. Men very easily make jugs serve useful needs. Perhaps...
Well, the perhaps kind of is irrelevant now, and actually makes it a lot better without the perhaps on there.
If Pluto needed to go, so obviously Pluto gets dropped in 2006. I think it lost its planetary status.
Isn't the one about something like my very easy method makes?
I've got more.
My very easy method just simply understand naming.
Beautiful. I mean, since Pluto has been dropped, a popular one amongst the children these days is my very excellent mother just served us noodles. That's quite an easy one. So yeah, there used to be a good nine planet one, which was quite often, which was my very easy memory jingle. Seems useful naming planets. So that was when Pluto was a planet, and since the demotion occurred, that can be very easily changed to my very easy memory jingle seems useless now.
Nice.
Last little few, slightly risque version. I think this is acceptable on the podcast. Mary's virgin explanation made Joseph suspect upstairs neighbour.
Upstairs neighbour. Nice. Yeah. I like that.
I like that one a lot. And
I mean, it was going on a sort of a religious tangent here. He did suspect the right person if you consider that God is everyone's upstairs neighbour.
I think that's it. It's both poignant in kind of a.
I don't think he lived in an apartment block, did he?
I don't think he did. I don't think he just lived directly above.
In the Nazarini apartment block, was that a thing at the time? Or?
I don't think so. I don't think they were a thing back then. And then just a really easy one. My very easy method, and then just SUN, so just sun. So my very easy method, just sun. So it's kind of a mnemonic within a mnemonic.
Oh yes, yeah.
So my very easy method, just sun. And then I thought I'd come up with one
Right.
for our top 5 list. So to try and help you remember the largest planets in order. So this was the distance of the planets.
Yeah.
I've come up with a 5-letter mnemonic to try and help you remember the largest planets.
Okay.
From Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune to Earth. So JSUNE. And I came up with Jolly Spaniards unveil nutritious enchiladas.
Wow. Nice.
So those just picture those Jolly Spaniards showing you their nutritious enchiladas. Unveiling those nutritious enchiladas, I should say.
Lovely. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
Thanks.
We spoke about all the planets of the solar system now,
Yes.
but how many planets do you think we've found outside the solar system?
Oh, a blooming lot, I imagine.
Now, obviously, we suspect, we don't know because we've not seen them. We can't say until we've seen them, but you're going to suspect that there's obviously trillions of stars in the universe, many trillions of stars in the universe, and then a lot of those stars will have planets. We're finding now, the more we're looking at planets, the more we're finding that most stars have some planets of some description. Yeah. But we've actually confirmed 5,000.
Only 5,000.
Confirmed, because you've got to remember we're looking at things that it's hard enough to see stars. Seeing planets
is
even hard.
They're not naturally bright.
We're not actually seeing the planets at all. What we're seeing is a dip in the way you observe an exoplanet is that you look at a star far away and you watch for a dip in its brightness, and you can track a dip in a brightness across the face of the star,
and that's
and you know that a planet has passed it.
Ah, okay,
and
that's interesting.
Depending on the brightness dip and the movement of the star and stuff, you can start to work out how big the planet is and things like that.
So if the star moves, you're kind of assuming it's got some kind of gravitational pull on it.
Yeah.
Right, interesting.
So we found 5,000 confirmed planets.
Right, so confirmed planets.
The biggest of which is called, it's got a very easy name.
HB something.
HD 100546b.
Catchy.
Now the thing
very
is,
catchy.
HD 100546 is actually the name of the star that it orbits. B is the planet. Because what they started doing was that what they'll name the star itself based on some random indexing.
Yeah.
And then every object further away from the center is A, B, C, D.
So this is the second closest.
So it's the second closest
object
planet
to that star.
Yeah. But it's a big one, and it's about 6.9 Jupiters in size.
Can you submit planet names? Because the B could easily be replaced by Big Waters.
Big Waters, yeah, the Robert Wadlow of all planets.
Because
B for Bobby Wadlow, mate.
That would be lovely.
I think it's probably going to end up being like one of those, the guy who sold the moon.
Ah, yes.
He just decided that I can sell areas of the moon to someone because no one's ever going to go there and no one's ever going to argue over it.
It's a great idea.
So, and you could probably set up a website, name the planets, and you officially sell the right to name planets. Officially, unofficially, because no one can actually name planets.
We should edit this bit out because this is a money-making scheme that we should get behind.
Anyway, coming up on our top 5 Dragon's Den ideas next week.
Just this one. Yeah. This is the only one.
And anyway, but these 5,000 planets that we discovered so far, we've found them in 3,600 planetary systems.
Right.
Each with 822 systems having more than one planet.
Okay.
So it's
So in terms of, you say you've obviously confirmed planets, so in terms of stars, is the stars kind of the trillion things just still an estimate as well? But it's kind of...
well,
we can
that's
see,
the scale of the universe. We can't say that.
we can see a lot, but we can assume that there's definitely quite a lot.
When you come into like guessing stars, all these planets we're seeing are going to be very, very local to us.
Yeah.
Like not even outside of our cluster within a local like neighborhood within the Milky Way. We're not looking to the other side of the Milky Way and seeing these stars. We barely even see like we further in our own galaxy.
Yeah.
So we're not like looking at another galaxy and seeing individual stars. You can pick out some bright events like supernova within other galaxies, but we're not looking at Andromeda and counting stars effectively.
Right, okay.
But we can work out from the gravity and the movement of Andromeda how heavy it is approximately, and then we know that approximately how many stars that would equate to.
Right, okay. I see.
It's all estimations, obviously, and
of
the
course.
numbers are so, pardon the pun, astronomically big that it
Great
kind of
pun. Excellent pun.
that it's the difference between the actual probably number of stars and our estimate is probably negligible anyway. So
Useful.
it's a big old universe out there.
Do you have any further planet fact?
I mean, obviously we could talk forever about planets, but I feel like it's a nice place to stop. We've given enough people enough information to ingest.
It's been a bit of an information overload, this one, hasn't it? There's been a lot to take in.
Yeah, and it's obviously always an interesting fact.
I did find there was a lot of stuff to learn about planets, and it kind of re-sparked my curiosity for planets as well. I feel like I've not really looked into much since.
If anyone out there is looking to learn more, I would highly recommend the BBC series Planets.
Okay.
It's narrated by Brian Cox, and it's very interesting. It's made with it's basically a CGI of the creation of the planets and how they formed and the histories and everything like that.
I've not seen that.
Very, very, very good documentary series if you want.
I will take you up on that recommendation.
Yes,
and I urge the listeners to also.
It's probably about 50% as good as this podcast.
Only 50.
Nah, maybe a bit like 40%.
I feel like their budget was considerably more as well for those CGI modelling.
Yeah, we could put some CGI over this. But we don't
could
need
do some
it.
CGI,
We don't need it.
CGI pie charts.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
As always, and see you on the next podcast.
And I'd like to say a very personal sayonara to our Japanese listeners.
Of course.
You didn't make... Oh, no, wait, you did make the list today.
You got a quick mention at the start about adopting me.
No, I can't say goodbye to them. They're on the list. They're on the list.
They are part of
They're
Earth.
part of Earth, yeah. So I need to go to our Venusian listeners, and that'll be...
Venus is very much on the list.
Venus isn't on the list.
Ah, of course. Sorry, we've talked about it today.
Top 5.
But it's not.
It didn't make it on top. And I said it in the I said goodbye in the national language of. And there we go. Good.
You edit in that after. You're gonna edit that in afterwards.
Well, no, I don't know what it sounds like, so I think it's just best to pay respects and not try and
We don't want to get
come
cancelled.
up with some weird sounds. And the Venusian man going, "That's outrageous. I sound nothing like that."
Yeah, we don't want to get cancelled before we've even broadcast on Venus, do we? But yeah, thanks for listening, and see you on the next one.
Bye bye.